Hello and welcome to the podcast series, a new episode on Bangladesh's emerging foreign policy narrative. And today we will be discussing particularly on trade diplomacy with a special emphasis on the significance of pharmaceutical industry. As you know that we have been discussing on various issues which are usually not covered by the dominant narratives of the foreign policy. Nevertheless, we know that when we are talking about trade diplomacy and Bangladesh's potential, pharmaceutical industry and its significance in trade and trade-related diplomacy is very critical. And we had the privilege today of having Dr. Mahfouz Kabir. Dr. Kabir is a very senior researcher, in fact, a research director of Bangladesh Institute of International and Strategic Studies. Dr. Kabir, by training, is an economist, and he has been working in this area more than 2 decades. And he is not only as a researcher, but also closely working with the government of Bangladesh in different capacities to advise policies, particularly on economic policy-related issues. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Kabir. And as you know, we have been doing this activity with the support of Frederica Stiftung Bangladesh office, and you have also worked on particularly the role of pharmaceutical industry, the challenges that we have, and also the potentials of the pharmaceutical industry in its contribution to improve the trade situation and scenarios of Bangladesh, which also includes the economic diplomacy, and you have some propositions. So today we will be discussing on that in this podcast. So why pharmaceutical industry is significant, and what is the potential that you can that you envisage here?
Thank you for the question. It's very important thing that we are discussing today. So pharmaceutical industry is related to public health. So we have the emergence of, in fact, communicable and non-communicable diseases across the world. So many countries, they are suffering from public health issues. And Bangladesh's pharmaceutical industry is very important industry, and a lot of companies are working here. There is a huge, in fact, FDI, that is the foreign direct investment in this sector. And we are learning a lot. And then as an LDC, that means the least developed country.
Right.
So we have some privileges to produce pharmaceuticals and export to the world, across the countries of the world. So in that context, I think Bangladesh pharmaceutical industry is very important. And it's a major supplier of the, in fact, generic medicine across the world, and it's providing this, in fact, pharmaceutical products among the population with a very low cost.
Right.
So, and even though it's not employing a lot of people, so it's a capital-intensive industry, but in terms of its output, that means medicine, it's very important. So, and because of its low price, so many countries across the world, including the, in fact, developing countries and also the LDCs, so they are receiving our, in fact, low-cost products.
Right.
So, and then it's contributing towards the public health across the countries of the world. So, and Bangladesh's medicine, so it's going to more than 136 destinations right now. And it includes the, in fact, all the countries of the world. So in fact, Asian countries, and also Latin American, African countries, Europe, USA, Canada. So everyone is getting benefit from this medicine. So, and there is another thing, like, I mean, if you consider the case of the major, in fact, pandemic, like the COVID-19. So, and that time, I mean, the Bangladesh medical industry and the pharmaceuticals, so they had a lot of contributions. So, and in fact, we don't know the next timeline of the new pandemic or epidemic. So, and these industries well prepared,
Right.
because of its innovation, in fact, in the limited scale. And we are doing a lot of, in fact, research and development. So, and we are, in fact, working closely with the multinational companies in producing the medicine, and we are meeting a lot of, in fact, measures to maintain the quality of the medicine. And since the market is open for us, and then we are supplying the medicine to the most stringent country in terms of quality, like the European countries and the USA, Canada. So we are maintaining the standards. And then Bangladesh has given a signal to the world market regarding our medicine. So I think we are proud of that.
Right.
But we have a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
So, and in fact, based on the opportunities and challenges, and also the our capacity to produce and export, so I think it's very important. And as an LDC, I think Bangladesh is the biggest supplier of the medicine from the LDCs. So, and if we compare the other sectors, so I think in fact the medicine or the in fact drug or the pharmaceutical sector has a good potential
Right.
in terms of production and export.
Exactly. Thank you so much for setting the tone. I think for our audience who haven't really been aware regarding the potential of the pharmaceutical industry, particularly Bangladeshi medicines, and you have mentioned 136 countries. But I think one of the big challenge, and you have mentioned it in your work as well, that what will happen after the LTC graduation, and there are multiple avenues that might open as well. But at the same time, we'll definitely face some challenges. Can you please elaborate on that?
In terms of challenges, actually, the LDC graduation will in fact pose a serious threat because of the TRIPS. TRIPS means the trade-related intellectual property rights.
Indeed.
So after the in fact expiry of the in fact privileges that we are getting under the LDC status, so in fact right after the graduation, so there is a possibility, and a possibility in the sense that there is a gray area, whether we'll have the transition period or not. So the discussion is going on. So and we may get the privileges for a certain period, like I mean the 3 years, but we may not in fact even get them, because some of the countries, like I mean the in fact USA, which is a big in fact investor in the R&D and then production of in fact the scientific innovation of the new medicines, so they may not allow, and the companies that are located in the US, so they may not allow us in fact to produce in fact or continuation of the production of the medicine which are patented, and so that is in there. But other in fact companies which are located in other countries of the world, so they may allow us. So there is in fact a kind of gray area, but we need to clear it, because if we see the in fact declaration in fact of the Ministerial Council of the in fact WTO in 2024, so that allowed the in fact the LDCs which are graduating, so and they will provide us an kind of period, like I mean the 3 years. So and that may work as an area of opportunity, because the in fact innovation is fast changing. So there are a lot of in fact new medicine in the market. So and in fact by this time there will be in fact expiry of the patent time of many of the important medicines. So by this time we can do a lot of things. I mean the in terms of progress in terms of reverse engineering. I mean so there are a lot of potential, but in fact after 2029, so what would happen? So that is also a big concern, because there is already a lot of investment from the in fact multinationals in Bangladesh, and we have also developed our capacity, and we installed machines, and we have attracted a lot of pharmacists as well, and we are producing graduates from public and private universities, and then they are in fact being adopted, and they're employed in this sector. So I think for the white collar jobs, so it's an attractive sector. So and in fact we cannot in fact end the hope for the graduates who are in fact aiming at joining the pharmaceutical industry. So I think in that sense, and there is another thing. So and what would be the alternative source of medicine after the LDC graduation for the countries across the world? I mean especially the LDCs as well, who are and actually buying the medicines from Bangladesh. It's low cost medicine. So in Asia, in Africa, in Latin America, so they are getting the from Bangladesh. So I think in that context, this discussion is very important. It's not only the interest of Bangladesh, but it's the interest of the world.
Exactly.
So
from that context, south to
the global south. So I think from the in fact the context of getting the low cost medicine for poor people or low income people of the world, and also Bangladesh can in fact talk from the voice of the south. So regarding the in fact access to medicine, especially the in fact life saving medicines.
Exactly.
So from that context as well, Bangladesh is an important country. So to discuss this issue in the global platform, like the WTO, like the UN. Now just the General Assembly has completed, and then just if you consider the case of the in fact SDGs, So right to medicine is a very important thing, especially for the low income people.
Exactly.
So I think in that context, it's very important to talk
Thank
this
you.
issue. Yeah.
And in the literature, we watch that most of the ingredients for the medicines are basically available from China and India, and you have also mentioned that. So one of the big challenge for us is whether after LDC graduation, shall we still have that contract or the mechanism to get the active ingredients in a lower price, or the price will increase, and therefore that will make the medicine more costly for the poor people in countries like us. Am I understanding correctly? I mean, that's another challenge apart from
It's right.
the copyright issue.
Yeah, copyright. It's a patent issue.
Apart from the patent issue, another issue is, of course, the medicine price will go high because of the active ingredients. The API prices will also become very high.
Yeah. If you in fact see the components of the in fact trips, so one is trademark, the other is patent, and there is another thing which is called the business model. So I think in terms of the in fact the patent, so patent is basically the most stringent issue. I mean, especially the for the softwares, like I mean, and also for, and nowadays, I mean, if you see the in fact development of medicine, so it's a highly in fact investment oriented. So it requires a lot of capital, lot of machineries, and the machine learning, etc. So these are involved. I mean, the scientific, in fact, scientists, if you see the in the developed countries,
Right.
so in fact, you can see the in fact physicist, chemist, the pharmacist, the biologist. Lot of people are in there, and nowadays we need the in fact quantum computing and a lot of other in fact things are in there. So and the in fact companies, I mean, who are the patent owners,
Right.
they demand a lot.
Exactly.
So and they have competitions as well across the companies. So many of them are successful, and a lot of them are just they just fail to innovate new medicines. So this is one side of the story. And if you see the price of new medicines, so there are a lot of complicated diseases,
Right.
and some of the medicines have the cost, and per unit cost is the millions of dollars.
Right.
So and it's not possible for poor people to treat or their in fact relatives or themselves as well. For example, the cancer patients, so they need lot of money.
Exactly.
So and because of that, I think I mean it's very difficult to understand the situation after LDC graduation.
Right.
If you see the in fact the current supply chain from India, from China, so they are the major providers of the in fact API, that active pharmaceutical ingredients. So and because of that, I think there will be new calculations because Bangladesh is receiving a lot of ingredients.
Exactly.
But the thing is that Bangladesh is also trying to establish an park, in fact API park. So and works are going on, but we are taking a lot of time. I mean, for the last couple of years, we are trying to prepare the ground. I mean, the things are in there, but in fact, progress is very slow. So that is a big problem because after the 2026, so we rapidly need the in fact places to in fact start working. So and that is a problem, but I think there will be some in fact arrangements because in fact, China and India, since they are the major suppliers, so they will not be, in fact, ready to, in fact, stop their supply. I mean, with the, in fact, current price, there might be just because of the economies of scale, because of the large production.
I understand. Right.
I think, in fact, the patent issue will not be a big problem. The price growth may be, I mean, the 10% to maximum 20%. But if we see the whole volume of the ingredients, so I think the in fact average price growth will not be a big problem. But definitely it will create a new burden on the poor people, on the low income people. So that would be a big problem because nowadays we are facing a lot of problem on the inflation.
Right.
So it will create a new inflation.
New inflation in the pharmaceutical industry, medicine. I mean, you are optimist as an economist, particularly from the supply side obligations, but at the same time, you are also concerned that it will add an inflationary kind of value over the medicine price, and that will impact the poor person's purchasing power capacity, particularly in this sector. What have you seen regarding the activities of first the government of Bangladesh and then the private sector, particularly the pharmaceutical industry, to overcome the challenges?
There's a discussion. I mean, frankly speaking, I mean, there is a kind of working paper. So and in fact during the LDC graduation discussion, and the government has formed a high level committee, and it's working under the chief advisor's office, and I think 22 or 23 members of the committee. So they are representative of the relevant industries and relevant ministries, and Ministry of Commerce is an important in fact stakeholder, and also Ministry of Industries. So they're working very hard, and Ministry of Foreign Affairs is also an important stakeholder. EAD, so they are working on this. So there is a paper which was presented by an representative of the industry, I mean the pharmaceutical industry, and he was scared of because he understands the consequences of the LDC graduation. So and he was about to cry. So when he was making the presentation, so regarding the future of our pharmaceutical industry, so the situation will be tough. So and in fact, I think even though the pharmaceutical companies and their executives, I mean the main owners, so they are not talking much about the consequences. But I think, I mean, government is preparing its position. So to talk and to discuss. Maybe in the next ministerial meeting, so there might be a discussion. Even though, in fact, the mightiest country of the world, US, so they don't care about the US. In fact, the presence or the WTO. But the thing is that, I mean, there might be some progress because already, I mean, there was a kind of decision regarding the extension of the, in fact, the possibilities. So, and the opportunities still in there. But if we, in fact, think about the next kind of WTO round, I think this discussion will come in the day. So, and
So in WTO, basically this discussion will take place whether, LDC graduated countries have to pay more because according to the TRIPS arrangements. WTO is the platform, whether it's
WTO is the authority.
right.
It's not only the platform.
Right.
So, so they can allow the, in fact, graduating LDCs
Right.
to continue their production of the, in fact, TRIPS related the products and services. So I think, in fact, there is an opportunity for Bangladesh because, in fact, before the last MC, the Ministerial Council, so there is no direction regarding the, in fact, the implication of expiry of the, in fact, the LDC status. So what would be the direction towards the, in fact, TRIPS related products and services? So since suddenly, I mean, the MC, but the Ministerial Council, they have decided, and their decision is the guideline for the member countries.
Exactly.
So, and I think the direction is clear, and Bangladesh is getting the benefits. So, and Bangladesh may be allowed to produce the continuation of the production of the patented medicines till 2029.
So for
November.
extension of 3 years.
3 years. So I think if the next round of the WTO, if they allow Bangladesh to, in fact, enjoy some more period, so then that could be a game changing, in fact, decision from.
Have you experienced or have you seen a collective voice of the global south in this regard? Particularly, I guess that there will be not only Bangladesh, a few other countries will also be graduated at one point of time. Maybe not together, but consequences of time. Is there any consensus of the global south or a south-south cooperation? Because, if you consider India as one of the largest producers of the active pharmaceutical products and ingredients are also part of this, and they're graduating hopefully. So is there any collaboration among the global south countries to overcome the situation?
There are actually two sides of the story. I mean, on one hand, I think if you consider the case of the LDCs,
Right.
so Bangladesh is the, in fact, supplier, in fact, largest supplier of medicines. And if you see the other countries who are shortly graduating, so they don't have that capacity.
Right.
So they are not the global suppliers. Maybe a part of their country's demand is met
Right.
by their own pharmaceutical companies. So, and if you see the other countries of the global south, so they are the competitors.
Okay.
So that's a big problem. So Bangladesh is going to establish an, in fact, API park. So it will compete with the Indian companies and Chinese companies. So there is a conflict and there's a less scope of cooperation. But the thing is that since Bangladesh is a recipient of the API from China and India, so there might be a scope of cooperation. So as long as Bangladesh is receiving the, in fact, ingredients after the graduation, so that during that period, I think Bangladesh may get some cooperation from them. But if you see the, in fact, different groups, like the LDC group, which has in fact more than 100 countries as members. So they have joint voices, but in the case of their common interest. But I don't think in terms of pharmaceutical industry or pharmaceutical products or ingredients, they have the joint voice. But situation may change because after the LDC declaration, you see there are a lot of changes in the geopolitical issues. So nowadays, the big leaders, they are cooperating each other. Even before they are contradicting. So they had the in fact kind of conflicting kind of positions. But things are changing.
Exactly.
So and in that case, I think Bangladesh has a good potential to in fact raise the collective voice in the especially from the global south, and it can be nurtured and it can be in fact placed in the right forum like the WTO.
Right. Thank you. So my last point, and probably asking for a suggestion from you, which is, you have mentioned about, and also there are other, activists who in this area would probably say, professionals from this area would probably say, the innovation is an alternative. Do you see the potential from our education, from the profession, from the areas, from the pharmaceutical industries, that we can innovation of new medicines and getting the intellectual property rights for them, for those newly innovated products, is a realistic option to tackle the situations in the long term?
I think it's quite possible because we have the capacity. So we have a lot of scientists who are working in for the pharmaceutical industry. So we have the pharmacists, we have the in fact chemists. So and we also have a lot of machines as well. And I already mentioned that it's a capital intensive industry, and we also have the in fact interest of the in fact multinational companies who are working here. So there's a knowledge division, spillovers. So and we have a good in fact supply chain as well. In terms of the in fact supply of the medicines, and soon we'll have the in fact production capacity of the API. So we can supply the API to other countries of the world, especially the developing countries who have the interest to produce medicines. So and we are globally connected. And pharmaceutical industry is the most advanced industry in this country,
Right.
where in fact scientists are working. So I think we and there is an interesting thing during the COVID-19, we also had in fact patent applications from Bangladesh regarding the genome sequence of the COVID, some of the variants of the COVID. So we are about to produce a medicine, a vaccine. So that's the reality, and so we don't have to lose our hope. So from that context, I think we have a very good potential. And definitely, since the in fact multinational companies who are working here, they have invested a lot. So in terms of developing the human capital,
Right.
so and from that context, I think they will not also lose the hope.
Lose the
So
hope.
and we, from the scientific community, they have a close network across the world. So from that context, I think there is a ray of hope. So and in fact, research and development and innovation. So it's a continuous process, and you will be happy to know that some of the companies in Bangladesh, especially who are working in the skincare products, so they already have developed a kind of in fact, collaboration with the US companies.
Right.
So and Bangladesh is exporting the skincare product to the US market. So and skincare is also a part of the pharmaceutical.
Of course.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think we already have established and we have demonstrated our capacity to the world, and and in fact our medicines are recognized by the FDA, which is the most stringent authority across the world.
Exactly.
So I think since we have the capacity, we have demonstrated skill. And definitely, if, in fact, US companies and big multinationals and the innovators, if they come to Bangladesh, they will find it a cheap place for the R&D.
Exactly.
And I think they will utilize our capacity and our, in fact, scientists and others who are working, and we have a lot of, in fact, experiences. I think from that perspective, there is a hope, and definitely we live with the hope. So we should not lose the hope.
Yes, with that hopeful tone and the positive note, thank you so much, Dr. Mahfouz Kabir, for your time and the very, critical as well as very optimistic insights regarding the significance of empowering the pharmaceuticals industry and doing the negotiations, not only with the countries of the global south, but also global north and also in the global platform. Any last word that you would like to add? Or
Uh, so I think it is the time, right?
Right.
And because we just have 1 year
Exactly.
before the LEC graduation. So
Right.
I think there should be a combined effort from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Industries, and also, in fact, support of the business community.
Business communities,
We
private
have
sector
already
is very important.
demonstrated a big success during the negotiation with the US
Right.
regarding the, in fact, tariff deal.
Tariff deal.
And I think we'll also have a good trade deal with the US. So, and this is a kind of milestone, and which we need to utilize. So, for the next negotiation,
Sure.
and our raising our voice in the global platform like the WTO. So, and we definitely have to win.
Exactly. Thank you so much. On that positive note, we thank you for your presence and critical insights on this very, very significant issue that we often do not discuss when we talk about foreign policy, the future of Bangladesh's foreign policy narratives, where I think particularly in the trade sector, pharmaceutical industry needs to play a very important role along with the effort of the government of Bangladesh.
Thank you, and thanks to FES.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Dear viewers, we have another very interesting episode with Dr. Mahfouz Kabir, Research Director of BIS, and we have been discussing some critical issues, particularly in the trade diplomacy and with a special emphasis on the pharmaceutical industry and the future of it. See you again in another episode. Thank you so much.